She immediately hangs up the phone and goes, "What just happened?"
My mouth, it said some things. Why did it do that?
Oh no.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
So many forces conspired against me getting to work the last couple of days.
Oh, yeah?
Because the alley behind where we park is closed off at one end because they're doing construction.
Oh, okay.
So yesterday morning when I go to leave to go to River North, garbage truck at the other end.
Oof.
So I have to go up to them, and I wait for a little bit. Then I have to be like, "Hey guys, I need to get out." And
Did you wave comics out the window and go, "I have comics.
I didn't actually.
I gotta
have
get
comics.
these to people."
Didn't have comics readily available. I was going to the comics.
Sounds like your mistake as a retailer.
And then this morning it was the same thing, but a construction worker vehicle whose door was wide open. If the door was closed, it'd be fine. So I inched up, and as I was getting out, he ran out, closed his door so I could scoot around.
Sure.
And then he immediately opened his door back up and walked away.
Huh.
Why does your door have to be open, sir? I don't understand. That just goes to show the level of adversity that we will overcome to be able to sell comics to the great city of Chicago. My name is Patrick Brower.
I'm W. Dal Bush.
And we own and operate the now two-store Challengers Comics and Conversation chain. We have a store that's been in Bucktown at Western and Milwaukee for about 12 years now, and a brand new store in River North at Chicago and Franklin. That one's been open for just over 3 months. And they each have a specific color aesthetic, so when we talk to them, we refer to them by color to make it easier to understand.
Yeah,
differentiate, rather than having to go with the city each time.
Mostly because when we were planning where a second store would be, there was a bunch of different neighborhoods, and we were already in the planning stages of what the color scheme and layout would look like. So internally, we were already thinking of the second store as blue, not necessarily River North.
Yeah, because it might not have been in River North, but
it could have been someplace else.
So red is in Bucktown, blue is in River North, and combined, Dal and I have been selling comic books for 58 years? 59 years? Doesn't that sound...
57 years.
57 years?
I want to say 57 years.
Doesn't that sound ridiculous?
It's a disturbingly high number.
Yeah. For two people who still consider themselves young at heart.
True. Young in spirit, if not in body.
Definitely not in body.
Definitely not in body.
I mean, you are a decade younger than I am. I was going to say a decade and a half, but a decade plus 5 months.
Yeah. And I feel like I have 1 to 1.5 feet in the grave.
Well, you're like 1.5 feet taller than me, so maybe it's those feet.
Probably those.
Not that anyone cares, it's only 8 inches. Not that I've measured.
Okay.
So we are lifelong comic book fans and, at this point, lifelong comic book retailers.
Yeah.
And this is our podcast, Contest of Challengers, which we like to call a comics industry business podcast, recorded right here in Chicago. And it is a look at the happenings in the comic book industry and how they affect the way we run our store and the way we do business and anecdotes from the week.
Yeah, it's both a macro and a micro view of the comics industry. Occasionally we'll talk about things that are announced at comic conventions or that major publishers are doing that affect the entire comics industry, both domestically and internationally. But a lot of what we'll talk about will be micro things. Difficulties in getting to the store, or minor things that happen through the day that give you a kind of a peek behind the curtain of what it's like to be a comics retailer in Chicago in 2020.
I'm going to start with an anecdote from today, which is one of the funniest things I got to experience working in retail.
Mm-hmm.
The I Love You, But I've Chosen Comics sale shirts have come in, and they had been checked in, and they were being processed and cataloged as to who gets what, because there's 2 stores with the shirts now and 2 different colors and 2 different styles, etc., etc. So when that was all said and done, and our colleague Ashley was the person making the phone calls, one of Ashley's current sayings is "love it, love it, love it."
Okay.
When you just hey, you want to get lunch? Love it. Just a really enthusiastic for anything minor.
Sure.
So she was on the phone with someone who'd gotten a shirt, a man, and they said, "Oh, I'll be in later today." And Ashley, instead of saying "love it," said "love ya."
Whoops.
And my head immediately whipped around. I'm like, what?
I beg your pardon?
Because sometimes I hear things that I don't actually hear, you know? Like, I'll often say to you, "Did you just say pony?" And you said, "No, I said tummy."
Yes.
Things like that happen regularly.
Yes.
So I'm like, maybe I didn't hear that. But she immediately hangs up the phone and goes, "What just happened?"
My mouth, it said some things. Why did it do that?
Oh, no. He seemed really excited to come get his shirt now.
Oh, no.
I can't wait to see that.
I have to leave forever.
So, of course, that meant for each other phone call, she was very specific in what she said. Mm-hmm. And as she was going to hang up, I'd be like, "Love ya!" in the background. But yes, Ashley telling a customer that she loved them today was very, very funny.
Whoops.
There were points where I had to bury my face in my scarf, my very stylish red scarf, to not laugh audibly while she was talking to someone.
Sure.
So, see that? Comics retail can be fun.
It can.
It
At
can
other
also,
people's expense.
It can also be filled with disease,
Yes.
like the whole rest of the world. You, listener, are probably tired of everything you hear being about COVID-19 and the coronavirus, and hopefully this podcast is an escape from that. However, that's exactly what we're talking about.
I guess so, yeah.
Because it was just announced today that ReedPop has postponed the Emerald City Comic Convention that was scheduled for next weekend in Seattle.
Sure, and I guess that's the main thing. Obviously, there's a bunch of different conferences. South by Southwest also got canceled / postponed. I'm not sure where they landed on that. Alongside a few other tech conferences recently. But Seattle specifically is having an outbreak, and it was decided basically by the city itself that conventions are a bad idea right now. ReedPop, that runs the Emerald City Comic Convention, had spent the last 2 weeks having publishers and artists cancel, and they'd revised their refund policy so that attendees who'd bought tickets that maybe decided they didn't want to show up for whatever reason could get their tickets refunded without having to go through any sort of normal appeals process. But this past week, enough people had canceled, and the city of Seattle had said, "Please do not bring 100,000 people here," that ReedPop was forced to cancel the show, pending, hopefully, a later date for it in 2020 where they can get the show back on in Seattle.
Yeah, they're looking for something in the summer, maybe around July.
And, I mean, we'll see. I would take any sort of rescheduling talk with a grain of salt.
But also, July is San Diego Comic-Con, and that's a very busy con season.
Yeah.
The comic convention season used to be a season. It used to be, let's say March through November. Now it's all year round.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, at least domestically, like you'll see shows. Frankly, the convention circuit got kicked off in 2020 with the C2E2 show that was just last week in Chicago, and that was the end of February. And I think in a real way, it kind of just runs up through probably the first week of October with the New York Comic Con. I feel like that's kind of the end of...
Well, I mean, WonderCon is always, or Heroes Con is always Thanksgiving. One of those two.
Oh, okay. I guess I thought that was a little earlier in the season.
Wait, one of them is always Father's Day. Whatever.
WonderCon is usually...
somebody. There was some convention that was traditionally Thanksgiving weekend.
Okay. Well, WonderCon's usually a little earlier in the year because I think that precedes San Diego Comic-Con, so it's usually...
Okay, so it's the Father's Day weekend one.
But as far as like publisher plans and big announcements...
There are so many, I get them all confused now.
There's literally one a week somewhere in the United States.
Yeah.
If not, I mean, obviously there's multiple ones around the world each week.
ReedPop was put in a very tough situation, and we know a lot of these people personally and work with them for the last, I guess, 11 years now. And I think they did the right thing, and I think they really didn't have much of a choice.
For sure.
But let me pose this question to you. Mm-hmm. Let's say you were going to Emerald City as a Challengers representative for, the Diamond Comics retail thank you breakfast.
Sure, okay.
Amongst other things.
Uh-huh.
And the show was not canceled.
Uh-huh.
Would you still feel comfortable going?
I probably would, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. But, I mean, I understand that some people don't, and I think that was the larger issue of, you know, as far as ReedPop had said in various press releases, like, they were still willing to put on the show. It was the city of Seattle that said, please don't do this.
Yeah.
As well as obviously juggling a lot of different participants that decided not to participate. And certainly postponing the show is a pretty big lever to pull. That's a lot of people's money that suddenly evaporates. That is a lot of work that was done that does not now have an outlet.
That is a huge influx of money into the social ecosystem of
A city.
Seattle.
Yeah, sure. Well, and that's on top
the hotels and the restaurants and
individual
the
creators
cabs.
and companies that were going to be exhibiting there now do not have a way to make money for that weekend that they
yeah,
were anticipating.
we're going to touch on that a little more.
But
in a
the
minute.
to me, and this is something that speaks to other conventions, the game developer conference just recently got canceled under kind of the same auspices. It was the coronavirus.
You're going to say under mysterious circumstances.
No.
A body was found.
Very understandable circumstances, and that bodies were found.
I meant like
yeah.
gun wounds and
Sure.
Open safes
Nope.
and muddy footprints.
Nope. This was
Foul play.
This was a global pandemic, and so similar to the Emerald City show, where there was different larger companies pulling out and saying we do not feel comfortable sending our employees, and for safety's sake, we're not going to participate this year, to eventually leading to the organizers having to say we do not have the ability to put the show on this year with all of the health concerns and business concerns. And a bunch of participants basically said, hey, we were going to do this show. It's been postponed. They might as well just not do it all this year and come back to it next year, because having to try and mount the show again later this year in like 6 months or something, somewhere else on the schedule, kind of working from scratch. Like, it's hard to say this, but I think the Emerald City show should maybe just skip 2020. Like you said, there's so many other shows that trying to then say, hey, the show that normally happens in March, we're going to try and put it on in August. It's like, well, everyone's schedules are very full and publishers are planning different things, and just saying like, okay, now we've marked off a different weekend in August.
And creators
just
usually
do it
have
next year.
their travel schedule planned a year in advance just because they have to. And the amount of creators who would be there were counting on the money they were making from commissions or sketchbooks
Sure.
or whatever they would bring to the show.
Emerald City, like Heroes Con in North Carolina, is a very artist-centric show. So a lot of artists who don't normally do a lot of other conventions will make time to do Emerald City because so many fans show up there and buy books and buy prints and buy sketches and buy pins and buy everything else. So Emerald City can be a really big hit to not participate in for an artist.
I didn't look at the guest list,
Mm-hmm.
but I wonder how many Chicago creators were going.
Oh, I don't know.
And then I wondered if there was anything we could do to help them out in regards to, like, hey, we'll set up a mini-con, but we don't have those resources at the moment.
Well, I mean, we could definitely do it. I don't know if it would help them a lot. I would certainly, yeah, I mean, if people want to do that, I would gladly make space for them wherever.
Sure, it's just that the attendees were not necessarily going to be from Chicago. So having Chicago people do anything after having just had a major convention.
2 weeks after C2E2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it seems that this year for us, C2E2 week was a little bit down at the stores. Normally, like the last couple of years, we've had a fairly steady weekend business on the convention weekend, and we don't expect to have a steady business. We expect to be doing terrible because
Everyone's at the show.
everyone's at the show.
Sure.
But the last couple of years have been otherwise. This year, nah,
Yeah.
not so great. Not terrible. Not so great. And also expecting people to immediately resume their normal comic buying habits after they spent so much money at C2E2 is, there's a little bit of a recovery period.
I don't know. We're selling out of a lot of stuff this week.
Yeah,
A lot of
but
books.
the last 2 days weren't super busy, but we sold out of a lot of books. You're right.
Yeah.
There was even more out of read today that I was going to call you for, but I thought, no, I know we don't have it.
Yeah, same here. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff in River North where it's like, I gotta do a reorder this weekend for all this stuff that we're out of. There's somebody who came in and basically had asked for
Everything we were out of.
well, no, I was going to say the newest issue of most Hill House books, and as a result, like we've sold out of almost all of them.
Nice.
So they're like, you don't have Plunger #1, I can get it for you.
Oh.
You don't have Daphne Bird #3, I can get it for you. You don't have Basketful of Heads #5, I can get it for you.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was a lot of those books.
And that's one of the issues we're going to run into in Blue over the next couple of weeks, where we're starting to get a few more people trickle in on Wednesdays, and our ordering had been cut so low
Yes.
that I need to start going up on the FOCs.
Yeah, we spent a good 6 to 8 weeks ordering a lot of stuff, expecting people to come in, and then when they didn't, we kind of cut to the bone to make sure that there would still be a River North store in the next few months. But yeah, that just means that, unfortunately, as people start showing up, we are more likely to run out of things on Wednesday and Thursday than we would have 2 months ago when no one was coming in.
Here is a dumb story about us paying rent in River North.
Yeah.
Now, we have a lot of different vendors that we pay, and landlords, and the things you do for a business, utilities and whatnot. So many of them, like 95% of them, are all done electronically.
Mhm.
We still need to write a check for our rent in... Wait, no, not in Bucktown. No, that's electronic as well.
Yeah.
But,
In River North.
well, we do, but we don't. So we were told there was an electronic payment service available when we opened the store. Great, fine. It's instantaneous, it's easy, no worries. Only when the first rent check was due, we didn't know what that was, so we mailed it. Then I contacted the landlord and said, hey, what was the electronic service that you use? Oh, they use Zelle. Okay, fine. Zelle is an app where you can transfer money like
It's like Venmo.
100 other apps. Sure. So we use PNC for our business banking, and it turns out they use Zelle. Great. That's convenient, right? So for the next month, we'll just use Zelle. Only you can't use Zelle for a business account, only personal accounts. Okay, fine. I also have a personal account with PNC. I can just transfer the money there. Okay, but once you do that, you can only use Zelle via the app. You can't do it from the website or anything else. Fine. Well, to be able to do it, you have to have that account linked to the other account. Like, to be able to transfer the money, linking the accounts is the easiest way to do it. So, linking the accounts means you have to go into the bank, which I did, and fill out a bunch of paperwork to say, hey, this personal account can be connected to these business accounts. Great. In the meantime, I'd opened up a PNC virtual wallet account because I thought I would need that.
Sure.
And when you do that, you're opening 3 new accounts. You're opening a savings account, a checking account, and a everyday cash account.
Yes.
So now I have 4 personal PNC loan accounts.
Awesome.
And it turns out I don't need those other 3, and I would like to not have them because it complicates things.
Sure.
So after you fill out the paperwork, it takes a couple of weeks to a month for it all to link up, and it eventually did. So it was time to pay rent for River North again. So I went to Zelle, and it turns out you can only send $1,000 a day.
Our rent's more than $1,000.
Yes, I would have to send 5 separate payments over 5 days to pay our rent. And I think that is, well, really dumb.
It seems a little inefficient.
So I called PNC and was told, no, that's the credit limit. That's the limit for anybody. It is a PNC rule. We're not changing it. You can't get extra.
Cool.
And then I thought, how can this landlord use Zelle when the limit is so low? And I've talked to people from other banks who use it, like, oh yeah, Chase has a limit of $1,500 a day or whatever. So who's actually paying with Zelle? So I'm like, fine, check. So I'm just going to mail a check. So the last month We wrote the check and handed it in. And this month, ironically, last month we didn't get a rent statement. I mean, we know what it is, but usually they send us a statement when we get one.
Sure.
This month we got it, February, so I cut the check on the 21st, mailed it. Then they never cashed it. And I even said to you after a while, I'm like, they haven't cashed that. Don't you think that's weird? And you said, well, maybe they wait until like the 5th of the month and do them all at one time.
Yeah, I thought
Something.
maybe, it didn't seem like the way that any landlord I've ever known has done it. They usually cash it as soon as they get it, but this is a new landlord. I don't know what their procedure is.
Right. So today's the 6th, so we get an email from the landlord. Hey, where's your rent?
Uh-huh.
So I think that it looks so bad for us, like for our third rent check.
It doesn't look
to
great.
be like, hey, it got lost in the mail.
Uh-huh. It does not look great.
And just because I know that I wouldn't believe me.
I like that you sent, like, here's a picture of our ledger.
Yeah.
Like, this is, but it's like, it's,
I know, that could be faked as well. It's not,
Sure.
it's not like I'm showing you my bank statement where it was cashed.
Right.
Because it was never cashed.
Right.
But here, like...
You can't prove to someone they didn't get something,
Yeah. And I just felt terrible. Like, wow, this makes us look so bad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
And I was like, hey, I can, like, unfortunately, the checkbook is not in River North. It's in Bucktown, so I can have you a check tomorrow, which would be Saturday, and no one is there.
Right.
So I was able to easily stop payment on the other check and then write a new check, but they won't get it until Monday.
Right.
And I am still wondering if there are fees involved in this.
I don't know.
We will find out. But yeah, boy, that's not a good feeling to be like, I sent it to you well over a week in advance.
Yeah. What you thought was, proving that you're a good tenant and that you're responsible and reliable inadvertently became, I swear to you, I had the money. I swear I sent it.
Yeah. So 50% of the time we've had to mail a check in, it went missing.
Yeah.
Or it never got there.
Yeah, I think going forward we'll just leave it in their mailbox.
I don't know where their mailbox is.
It's right outside where that door is.
Okay. Yeah, I'll happily do that in the future.
Yeah.
I just didn't know that was... Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a fun thing to have to deal with today,
Disappointing for sure.
as we're trying to establish ourselves as professionals and trustworthy, because we know we'll blow that soon enough.
Yeah.
We didn't need to do it this early.
No. We'll need that screw up down the line.
This is a whole different direction, but I couldn't transfer books out at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah?
I started getting an error message,
Okay.
a pop-up error message
Oh.
of all just code. And
Oh.
I had done it earlier in the day, so I don't know what happened.
Mm.
And then I shut everything down and restarted, and it still happened.
Oh.
So I just manually changed quantities, but it
Okay.
wasn't transferring out any.
I'll have to see what that error is and see if it's something I can fix or if it's
Yeah.
something that we need to get someone to fix.
It's a giant pop-up with code and gibberish, and then you close it, and then you get a small one.
Okay.
And then when you close that one, it crashes Manager entirely.
Wow, okay.
And it did it multiple times.
Wow.
And it even did it after I shut everything down and rebooted the whole system.
Brand new experience. I
Yep.
haven't seen that before.
I was just warning you about it ahead of time.
Thanks.
So it's a little annoying. Also, saying that I did it earlier. So I did all the returns, and you have to transfer all those out because they're coming out of the system,
Uh-huh.
because there's stacks of them. And also, I don't know if this is a thing that you do, but I don't know. I went back through... Let me rephrase that. Ashley and I went back through the invoices from January 2019 to current day
Okay.
and marked and made a record of every Marvel overship.
Okay.
I did it yesterday in blue, which was only having to go back to November of last year.
Sure.
So that is why I said I did it, because I did those months.
Got it.
So we have a spreadsheet of issue number, or title, issue number, quantity, and what we're talking about is Marvel occasionally gives us overships of books that they think people underordered, and they want it to be like, hey, you could help garner sales with this. You could get more attention.
That's one interpretation.
Yeah, another one is...
That Marvel is trying to artificially boost the numbers by just sending out a ton of extra copies to make their sales numbers look better for the quarter.
It's either 100% of your order or 50% of your order.
And sometimes it's, a first issue of something. Sometimes it's the first issue of an arc. Sometimes it's just a random issue somewhere in the line.
Yeah.
Which is again, why it seems less like building your sales and more like this is something we are doing internally to make our numbers look better than they are. But who knows? I don't know.
So have you ever kept a record of those or done anything with those books?
Not really.
Okay, because I felt like at some point you had separated some of them. I want them...
In the past, but it happens so often now that they're just part of our stock.
Yeah, so twofold. I wanted to clear out some room, but all I did was take them out of the restock boxes in the back.
Okay.
And it's like a half box.
Uh-huh.
And I'll do the shelves tomorrow.
Okay.
But also, I'm trying to garner stock to sticker and give out.
Okay.
At coffee shops and places, especially in River North,
Okay.
that have it. I've been reaching out to local businesses to say, do you want some comics?
No, okay. Sure.
And I think that's the best way to do it.
Sure.
With I've been saving the return innards of appropriate books.
Okay.
For example, Doctor Who #1, we have a stack of those.
Sure.
It's a comic, just doesn't have a cover.
Sure.
And we're not selling them, we're giving them out.
Right.
Then there's a lot of the books on the list that are long pulled off of our shelves.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume those are...
Already in the back issues.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it worth going through those to find them?
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like you have more than enough copies of recent stuff.
Yeah, I know, but I also just want to keep this list going forward so we're not cluttering up shelves. You know, most of the time when they give us an overship, it's on a book that we're never going to sell that many extra copies of.
That's true. I was always okay keeping them in the normal stock boxes because, I mean, just in case. Like, I don't want to... It would be like taking the extra copies immediately when they come in and going, no, I'm not going to bother putting these out. Like, I at least want to give it a shot.
Sure. Well, I mean, some of this stuff has been around for a while.
For sure. It usually takes anywhere from 4 to 8 months for something to make it to the back issues.
Yeah. And going back to the returns, so I transferred all those out with no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a massive stack.
Sure.
It was a massive stack. And it's such an ordeal now because you go pull off the shelves, and you go through the restock box. I was in those restock boxes a lot today.
I imagine.
It definitely was.
There's some books in there.
Yeah, so it was working fine earlier. It just suddenly at the end of the day.
Sure.
And I don't know, like there was no incident that caused it, I don't think. Along with those, we both have been doing new tasks that we got the idea from Jacob Sorelli when he was visiting from Tel Aviv, Israel last week. For those of you who may have missed that, Jacob is from Israel and he runs the comic shop Kamikaze. And he was in Chicago for his very first visit to the United States, but he was coming to C2E2.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to hang out with him for a whole bunch, and he was actually on the podcast last week. But one of the things that we had said while we were talking to him on the podcast was some of the ideas of his we were already planning to implement.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now it's been a week,
Yes.
and we've been implementing them.
Yeah, I think we have, yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you start with yours?
Oh, one of the things that he was doing that he showed us on his phone was that he would do Instagram posts letting subscribers know books that were going to be available for order. And like the ones he was showing us was like Empire, the Marvel event series, has a bunch of tie-ins. And most stores, him and us included, are not planning on ordering super deep on those because often those are the books that we get caught on when it comes to event miniseries. We got caught with a ton of extra War of the Realms miniseries, and similarly got caught out on 2099, the one-shots that were coming out for that. So for Empire, not counting the X-Men tie-in, we're probably going to go pretty light on those.
Really light.
So the intent is to get a lot of subscription numbers by telling people, hey, these are not going to be on the shelf, so if you think you're going to want to read them, definitely pre-order it. So that was what he was doing, but the way I kind of wanted to go with it was our final order cutoffs for most publishers are like a Monday. So maybe sending out an Instagram post on Monday with a bunch of the books that are on final order cutoff, the things that we're locking our orders in on, telling subscribers, hey, if you want to order this, this is the point to do it, because after this we kind of can't guarantee it. Kind of putting those books back in front of people. We'd already sent emails about them maybe a month or 2 months prior, but this is a month before the book's going to come out. We want to maybe resurface some of those graphic novels, miniseries, ongoing series, one-shots, to maybe try and drum up a few extra sales for people who weren't maybe paying attention a month ago when the orders opened on those books.
And we know how well those emails work because the sheer number of people that had already subscribed to Strange Adventures well before it came out last week was nothing but inspiring and confidence boosting. And,
Sure.
And none of those, because I feel like we doubled our Strange Adventures numbers since last weekend.
Maybe. A lot of it was just trying to put the information in front of as many different eyeballs as possible. There's people who will read emails that won't look anywhere else, and there's people who won't ever look at an email but are always on Instagram. So the ability to kind of put this information maybe one more place, and you catch a few more people. I don't know that it did a lot for us the first week, but it doesn't take me a ton of time to do. I did all of them for next week today in maybe less than an hour probably.
Okay.
It's just a template. You plug in some new photos, you plug in some new text, and you're ready to go.
Do you think it would be more helpful to put them up on like a Sunday?
I don't know. That's a good question. I just assumed doing it on Monday because I feel like people at work are more likely to be on Instagram than people not at work. But I don't know when the engagement is for a lot of that stuff.
Dal is not a social media person at all. He has no social footprint, no accounts anywhere.
It's true. I don't. So yeah, I mean, if people say that they're on Instagram more on Sunday and more willing to look at stuff like that on Sunday than they would be on Monday, I'll gladly switch it. But it just felt to me like during the work week is when people are more looking for a distraction, which is Instagram, than maybe on their time off when they could be out doing things, and that means they're not on Instagram as much. But I don't know.
So internally, at the time those go out, we have already done the FOCs.
Yeah.
Is there a point where you would actually go back and try to adjust the FOC based off of these late editions, or is this just...
It depends on the book.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm getting, it's the book and the quantity. If, 15 people are getting back to me on Monday saying, add these books to my list, I'm probably going to go back into the final order cutoffs and make some adjustments.
If you can.
Yeah, I mean, probably can. They usually, this post goes out at like noon or whatever. Yeah. So we've got 5 hours. If it's just a few people and or it's books that we're already getting a ton of, it's just to sell more books, not necessarily to make our orders more accurate.
And in that vein, the other aspect of that was we have created a private Facebook group just for Challenger subscribers, just for people from either store who are in our subscription service, who commit to books ahead of time that we put aside as they come out. And obviously that's my domain because Dal has nothing to do with Facebook. So much so that we found out, well, as I expected, you could only invite people to this group that you're already friends with on Facebook. And while I personally am friends with a lot of our customers, I'm not friends with every subscriber.
No, that would be a lot of extra friends.
So I realized we need to make a separate account for this just to friend subscribers. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I already have an account, so let's have it be Dal. Let's have Dal have a Facebook account. I said, you wouldn't have to run it. I'll take care of it. It'll just be yours since I already have one. Mm. And Dal's like, no.
I didn't say no. I suggested maybe there were other avenues that we could explore. And if you had said absolutely not, it's got to be you, I would have said yes.
So I created a second Facebook account for myself, which caused a lot of problems because a lot of the information overlapped.
Sorry.
And I literally could not log back on today because it kept logging me into my main account.
Sorry.
But the long story is I went through and tried to add as many subscribers as I possibly could. Mm-hmm. There were a bunch, but nowhere near the hundreds of people that we have subscribed because It's hard to find people on Facebook because a lot of people, change their names so they're hidden from their work.
They don't want to be found.
That's totally understandable. There's a couple of people who I was able to find whose names come up as something 100% different than what their names are.
Sure.
Or I find them right away, but they don't have an add friends button. Mm. Did they take it off? Was it an error? I don't know. But more than that, a lot of people have similar names, across the world, and Facebook
Sure.
is a global platform.
Sure.
And there's a lot of people who are our subscribers who I necessarily could not pick out of a lineup.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, especially because a lot of people's like avatars and stuff on Facebook are them far away from the camera, or them wearing sunglasses and hats,
Right, or just their children,
Yeah.
or this meme that they like,
Yeah.
or a Punisher symbol, or whatever.
Yep.
So I was doing that for a long time today, and here's the deal. If you are listening to this and you are a Challenger subscriber,
hey, that's me.
and I didn't... also, if you're a Facebook user,
Oh, that's not me.
and you have not gotten a friend request from Patrick Challenger, that's an oversight. I was trying to find you. You could friend request me. My icon is the red and blue symbol, the C symbol for the store. It's also the same symbol that is the Challenger's store page.
Oops.
But it's that page is so I can invite you to the Challenger subscribers page. And on that page,
Yeah, what's on that page?
well, it's those exact images that you post.
And I'm not even asking that like some sort of like leading question. I literally don't know, and I'm curious.
So far, they're like, I don't want to overdo it.
Sure.
The last thing I want to do is bombard people who agreed to be in this and have them hate it.
Sure. But you want to make sure it's valuable.
Right. So it's literally just your post.
Uh-huh.
But what I have to do is then download all 10 pictures and then re-upload them.
I mean, I usually put them in my Google Drive, but I can start putting them in Dropbox if it's easier for you that way.
Yeah, it definitely would be.
Okay,
Because
I'll
then
do
I download them to the desktop and
Yeah,
then I have to remember to go.
I'll do that
delete them.
tomorrow. I'll make a new folder called like FOC Instagram or something.
Just IG. IG is good.
All right.
Whatever you want, I'll find
So
it.
what else do you put on that page?
Well, I mean that, and then I did a link to Previews World for Decorum #1,
Okay.
just to.
What you could also do
Uh-huh.
is put up the text file for everything that's on FOC for that week. That's where I get a list of what's FOCing, so I know what things to spotlight.
Okay,
It's in the data files section.
sure.
There's a PDF that is like formatted so you could print it out and hand it to people, but it's like 8 pages long and you can't really do a lot with it.
Yeah,
But there's a text file that you can go in and you can edit stuff out and do whatever else.
I mean that's the key is
Formatting you
editing
want.
things out.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to have everything on there, but yeah, Dynamite has a listing on there, so imagine how many things are in that section. That,
How many 25 Red Sonja covers or whatnot?
Uh-huh. The 1 in 10, the 1 in 20, the 1 in 30, the 1 in 40.
So I don't even want to do like a post today. I think that might be too much.
That might be too much, but...
But to do
Yeah.
like taking what you do and putting it on to, because we can already copy that to the Challenger's page. But
yeah, I think maybe doing stuff...
organically versus cross.
well, I was going to say doing stuff maybe like Friday through Monday,
Yeah.
kind of making that the period that we're paying attention to that page. That's when, you know, we can put up the text file on Friday. We can, like, spotlight stuff on Saturday. We can, if you want, put up the Instagram photos on Sunday, and then I'll do the Instagram post on Monday. You know, that kind of thing to keep
Definitely
up.
not doing that on Sunday.
No?
I don't work Sunday.
But you could do it, like, at night or something.
Not gonna do that. I do the podcast.
Or then do it Monday. That's fine,
Yeah.
too. Whatever. But, you know, keeping it something where you're not overdoing it, so it's every day of the week, but creating a period where there is new content. This is something you should be paying attention to.
So on the one hand, it was gratifying to have people immediately accept my friend request, but on the other hand, to be able to invite them to the Challenger's subscription page, the subscribers page, I would have to refresh that page because it didn't populate the new friends.
Sure.
But also, I had a 2-sentence introduction to the group as saying what you're getting an invite for.
Right.
Don't just want to invite people blind.
No.
But I'd have to copy and paste that each time because when you refresh it, it resets everything.
Sure.
And then I'm sure there are plenty of people who are going to be like, why am I getting a friend request from that guy?
Uh-huh.
Especially with River North customers who we don't really know yet.
Sure.
But I want this to be for everybody.
Of course.
And it does say, hey, if there's something you're interested in, please email us.
Yeah.
Messages here may get lost if there's a lot.
Sure.
And that means I have to bounce around to the different accounts.
Sure.
I mean, I made Patrick Challenger an admin of the page as well. So I can access it from either account.
Sure.
So that should be fine. Like I'll get notifications from either account. So that
Right.
just means I'll get double notifications for some things.
Yeah.
But
So I was talking to Kent about this. Kent, who works Thursdays and Sundays with us. He and this shouldn't surprise me because he's so much younger. We were talking about emails and how we contact people, and he basically said that almost all of his business now he conducts over Instagram DMs. And I thought, yeah, that's kind of why we're sending out like the FOC Instagram thing, because there's people who just will never look at an email that we send them about upcoming books that they might be interested in, but they're on Instagram. But the problem is that means that they also will respond through Instagram and they'll respond through Facebook. And that unfortunately may be a thing where it's like, that may be just how we have to start doing business, where there's people who they're not going to leave the app they're in to go write us an email to send it to an account. They are just not going to do anything about it. But if they're looking on the Facebook final order cutoff subscriber group and they're like, that looks good, I want that, they might just go like, I want that, add that to my list. You know, it's the other side of constantly putting this information in other places to capture people's attention is they're probably going to be responding in those areas.
yeah, I'm afraid that we're gonna miss it.
I'm definitely afraid of that too, which means that it just means that we have to be more. And both of us, like, if I'm posting something on Instagram, I should be going back and checking and seeing, like, are people saying they want this or whatever, and can I do something about that? It would be great to have, you know, a social media intern whose job it is to monitor all these channels, interact with people, and, you know, make the appropriate changes internally to make sure that when people are asking for books, they're getting them and whatever, but it's just down to us, like almost everything else.
Well, wouldn't it be a little bit easier if we had more help?
I mean, that would be ideal. I don't know if that's possible.
What would we do? How would we let people know?
Probably make a Google form where people can tell us why they might want to volunteer at Challengers and help us out with some stuff. And we could then vet those applications and decide if those are people that we want to have hanging out with us at Challengers on a regular basis.
Wait, it sounds like you've already done
I
that.
already did that. We posted it on our website this past Monday, and we, I think, put it on Twitter and
Well,
other places.
we put it on Twitter, and
Can
we
you put it in the email next
tried
week?
to put it on Facebook, yes,
Okay.
if I remember.
Okay.
Tried to put it on Facebook, but the Facebook AI assumed it was an official job posting.
They got some
and-
real strict rules about asking
Yeah.
people to work for you.
Yeah, and then they rather than post the link to the Google form, they just posted a Challengers is looking for like help wanted at Challengers, and then people started saying, "Oh yeah, I'm interested. What for what?" And I'm like, I didn't show anything else, so I took it down. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I bet this podcast reaches way more people than Facebook does, so let's just talk about it organically.
Definitely people from Tel Aviv and from Colorado and yeah,
And from Melbourne.
and Melbourne. Probably not going to be willing to pitch in for a day a week.
That's true. So what we're getting at is we're looking for volunteers to help out just for a little bit per week. We're not looking for somebody to come on full time.
Correct.
We're also not looking for somebody who wants what is that thing other people get at work?
Money dollars.
Huh.
Yeah, we are not in a position to offer money dollars. So the two sides of it are, one, this is basically just going to be like, we will help you out with your comics for the week. And then the other side of that is because there's no money dollars in it, we will also not be asking that much of you. It is mostly just helping us out at the store, not necessarily running the store with or for us. Generally, we're asking people kind of what their availability is, what days of the week. During the week at both stores, we're open for 8 hours on weekdays and 6 hours on weekends. And so we're asking people, like, of those, what blocks of hours make sense for you? So we can try and figure out, you know, if we were trying to cover different areas that we feel stretched thin on, how we would maybe make that work with the amount of people that we're getting interest from. But yeah, up front, this is not replacing your job that you already have.
Right.
This
This
something,
isn't even a job.
no, this is something you would be doing like with some of your free time, a la a hobby or just general volunteer work. So think of it that way. Please don't think of it as I can quit my job and start working at Challengers, because I guarantee you whatever job you're working right now, you make more than we do. So you do not want to be trading down to work in comics. As I put on the application, there's no money in this. No one in comics has any money. No one is earning a real living in comics, is I think how I explicitly phrased it. So please keep that in mind when you are submitting an application. But that said, the application is up on our website. It's a pretty simple Google form. We're just looking for a little bit of information from you. Generally, availability, any special skills you might have that might be of use when working in a comics retail environment.
Like, are you a ventriloquist? Like, can you do card tricks better than I can?
What season of Taskmaster have you been on?
I just started 7 last night, and it's already so good. In the first episode, James Acaster says, "Are we the dumbest cast you've ever had?"
Well,
and it might be true.
Wow, that's some...
He said, quote, "I know it's early days, but are we the dumbest contestants you've had?"
It's both an incredibly high bar and an incredibly low bar, which I guess kind of encapsulates Taskmaster as a concept. So the other thing that we go into is...
a little bit about what you like.
Yeah, so some of it is just getting a sense of who you are as a comics fan. You know, what books you're into right now. And then a lot of what being in a comic shop is, you know, listening to people talk about comics and what they like, and then being able to respond to them in a way that hopefully turns them onto some books they may not be aware of. So there's a little section at the bottom where we ask you to pick a book that you're reading right now that you enjoy, and then pitch it to us. Tell us, you know, why you like it, what's good about it, why we should be reading it, to get an idea of, you know, can you communicate your love of comics to another person? From that form, we'll wait till the end of March, and then we'll go through them all, and depending on the different criteria, people's availability, people's interest level, people's knowledge base, people's enthusiasm, we'll whittle that down to folks that we'll want to bring in and have, you know, one-on-one conversations with, either, you know, the applicant and me, or the applicant and Patrick, or the applicant and both of us, depending on how people's schedules work out. And then from there,
What about just both of us talking about the applicant?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
From there, we'll then make offers to people and ask them to maybe help us out at the store. I did caution that with the applications, you know, just filling out the application is not a guarantee of an offer. So if we don't contact you after the end of March, it just means that all the criteria did not line up this time. You know, your availability may not match when we need somebody, versus, you know, where you're at right now is not necessarily where we need someone to be at right now. But we will keep these applications on record for at least a little while, so that if things change, you know, we have a way of contacting people to say, hey, you know, we reconsidered, can you please come in and we can talk to you.
And also, if we get to a point where the River North Star store starts pulling its weight, and we can afford to pay someone money dollars, if you're already working for us, that is beneficial to you.
Yeah,
potentially.
The hope definitely is to reach a point with the River North store that it is able to start affording help. So that's one of the first things we want to do when that store is not negative revenue. Let's put it that way. So yeah,
I don't want to oversell it, but that's our goal in life
in general. But with that store in particular, like, that is kind of the stumbling block for, you know, making real offers to people that can hopefully pay for a lifestyle where they can exist in Chicago. We want to get there, and, you know, there's definitely an eye towards promoting from within. But right now, today, that is not where we're at, and that's not the kind of offer we can make. So again, please keep that in mind. Treat this like a hobby, not like a job. We treat it like a job. You can treat it like a hobby. But yeah, so if that sounds interesting to you, and you live in the Chicago area, and you feel like you have some free time and would want to participate in hanging out and talking comics at a comic shop, and you think Challengers is a place where that would be fun for you to do, fill out the form. Let us know.
You know how a year or so ago you made a dedicated new release page? newreleases.challengerscomics.com, or challengerscomics.com/new releases, one of those two.
Okay.
Can you do the same for events?
Yes.
I know you can. I just don't know if you remember how you did it.
I can figure it out. Figured it out once.
I think that's a helpful thing to do.
Okay. Will we have some events soon?
I mean, eventually, yes. Yeah, when we were at C2E2, we talked to some people. We were setting some things up. Nothing is carved in stone, but we have 3 separate events that we just don't know when they're going to be.
Sure.
We know what they are. And then we reached out to some other people and have gotten no replies back. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, that's the way it always goes.
Sure.
The number of no's we get is, well, high. But
High.
never polite. Polite no's. Like, hey, I can't, or hey, it's too far away, or hey, there's a disease ravaging a virus ravaging the world. I don't want to fly. Whatever.
Understandable.
We'll take. That's fine. A no is we're not gonna hold it against anybody.
No.
Totally fine. I was a little distracted over these last couple minutes because my phone kept going off with texts about us just being mentioned on the radio just now,
Oh, neat.
and I don't multiple times. I'm not sure where or when because
Challengers Comics, a store currently on fire. Sorry.
no, apparently it was good things.
Oh,
And it
that's
was
good.
an AM station. I just did not catch
Neat.
what the.
We were
What it was
too busy
about.
making content.
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing.
Making content.
And you could say that comics retail is like playing a game. And if you like playing games, God, that was
Oof.
so bad.
Oh man, I don't
So
even know where this
bad.
is going, and I don't like it.
Oh, man, I apologize to everyone.
Oh, yikes.
Right up the street from us, like a half block away,
Hmm.
is a brand new establishment for the nerd and everyone, the Chicago Board Game Cafe.
I hope they're paying for this.
I also hope that I got that name right, because I'm not 100% sure that's what it's called.
I hope they're paying for this.
Well, I mean,
Free advertising.
I'm advertising us
Okay.
in this.
All right.
And it is opened by the people behind Cards Against Humanity, and it is a large, sprawling restaurant, bar, gaming place, complete with escape room in the basement, a giant vault of games, because it used to be the Cole Taylor Bank.
That's right.
And they have a little games outpost called Garneau's Outpost, or Garneau's Trading Post. And just outside of that, they have a spinner rack full of graphic novels curated by Challengers Comics and Conversation.
True.
And it looks, the photos look fun.
Yeah.
Dal and I got to consult on this
We did.
a while ago.
A while ago.
We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see it open, but it's cool also to see, like, literally if you drive by, you can look in and see the graphic novels, kind of.
Yeah.
You can see the spinner
That's
rack
true.
by the door.
Yeah.
So if anybody happens to be there, the food is amazing. Chef Adam K, I think that's his name. I really need to write down notes for names of things I'll be talking about if I plan to talk about them. He's an amazing chef. We've eaten his food, multiple courses of his foodstuffs, and enjoyed it immensely. I still want to just go over there just to eat, not even to play. I'm not a big game guy,
No.
but I'm a big food guy.
Maybe when
As in, I
that,
eat food,
maybe when that
and I'm a big guy.
that what's the Money in the Bank? That Money in the Bank game that's coming out from us.
Oh,
WWE?
sure, yeah.
We'll bring
See.
that. We'll bring that over there, and we'll get some things, and then we'll play the
Maybe-
climbing the ladder game.
Maybe we'll go there and bring over Smack Talk Showdown and do that.
Sure.
Our friends at Oni got to take a little tour and demo a new game they're doing and said that it was a real fun game.
That's cool.
They were happy with it. So yeah, that's there. And a awfully clunky segue aside, you should stop by and check it out. And if you're in the area, come by one of two challengers, because there are how many?
Two Challengers Comics and Conversations.
It's one ongoing conversation, but there are two stores.
I see.
So since we were highlighting Decorum on the Facebook page and on our website, and it's
Because it's coming out this
coming
week.
out this week, and you and I have both read it,
We did.
why don't you tell people a little bit more about what you thought of it?
Oh golly, I
mean,
really
we
enjoyed
mentioned it a while ago.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think the art is great. There's Mike Huddleston is doing a lot of different fun styles.
Is there a Mike Hiddleston too?
Probably.
I mean, there's a Tom Hiddleston, but
Maybe
he's
that's
not an
what you're
artist.
thinking of.
But maybe I'm thinking of Mike Hawthorne.
I think you are, because I think you would frequently confuse the two of them in the past.
I'm sure I do. It's not the Contra virus.
No. But anyway, Decorum #1, I really enjoyed the first issue. It's got a really perplexing intro that's largely silent, and it's hard to kind of understand what's happening and why it's happening and who it's happening to. But that's the sort of thing where I feel like it will become more clear as the story goes on. But the second half is a very fun and funny, like kind of gritty sci-fi crime drama with a lot of humor to it. If you've liked how Hickman's approached sci-fi and humor in something like New Mutants, you'll really like the second half of Decorum. And if you enjoyed some of like the far future elements of Powers of 10, you will like the first half of Decorum #1. I thought together they worked really well. They're very much two different flavors, but it's an oversized first issue, so you get a lot of both. And again, I think the kind of mysterious stuff in the first half will be less mysterious as the book goes on. So I think overall it's a really great first issue. I really enjoyed it.
And the cell line, the log line, if you will, is just a very straightforward... I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's basically, this is the most polite assassin in the galaxy.
Yeah, it's a hitwoman who very much believes in the
manners.
The manners of... I mean, it's... Yeah, I don't know how much of that comes across in the first issue so much as it's something that they talked about and I kind of internalized when I was reading it. But it's there's a very fun dynamic between kind of a gig economy street rat and a very high-minded, cultured assassin. Like, they have a fun kind of buddy cop dynamic to them.
I don't want to put a bell on it or anything, but there is a specific level of decorum that this person expects.
Yeah, like, if you can kind of imagine, like, I'm going to go ahead and say it this way, and I hope this isn't unfair to the creative team who's doing something really special with decorum. It's like Blade Runner meets Kingsman.
Okay.
It's kind of how I see it. Like,
Okay.
there's a very, like, near-future sci-fi, gritty, no one's got any money aesthetic to it that also has, currently in the first issue, this, you know, there's a very cultured badass and a maybe talented but kind of grimy kid alongside them. So that's Blade Runner meets Kingsman is kind of how I'm going to phrase it. Who was it? So Ludocrats #1, the new Kieran Gillen Image miniseries,
Yes.
is on Final Order Cutoff this Monday. So Image was sending a lot of press about it to get people to up their numbers.
A lot of the same press from 3 different people.
The same press, depending on how many mailing lists you're on.
Yep.
But they had, like, Kieran Gillen has a way of describing it, and it's very like Monty Python, and it's fine, I get that. But he'd mentioned that somebody else, and I can't remember who, had a better way of describing it, and it was New Gods meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, okay.
And that sounded way more interesting to me than, like, Monty Python by way of X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, that's fine. Monty Python doesn't mean one thing to me. But when you say New Gods meets Hitchhiker's Guide, I'm like, I know what that looks like in my brain.
Nice.
So I think that's the one I'll probably use more often when describing Ludocrats.
Did you read the PDF of
I
#1?
haven't had a chance yet. I plan to tonight. What's funny to me about Ludocrats is that it's, you know, it's talking up Kieran Gillen, who's writing it, and his co-writing partner, who's a video game person, and they're so glad that Jeff Stokely's drawing it. And all I could think was, you announced this with David LaFuente like 3 years ago.
2015.
2015. It was a while back. It was a long time ago. 5 years ago.
January of 2015, so 5 years ago.
It was part of one of those Image, like Comics Pro dumps or something, where they announced like 12 books.
Was it
probably alongside like a Kelly Sue book that hasn't come out yet?
Yeah,
Parisian White.
Parisian White. Was it the first Image Expo?
I don't know. I mean,
Something
2015 was a long time ago. It's way longer than I thought it was. I thought 2017 maybe, but 2015, Jesus. So yeah, something must have happened where David LaFuente was drawing it, and then David LaFuente is not drawing it. Jeff Stokely is drawing it, and it's 5 issues long. All right.
I do believe there is a David LaFuente variant cover.
I hope so. They showed something off when they first announced it.
Yeah, they did. They've also said, hey, there'll be some fun other covers. I'm like, wait, when will those be?
I dislike how much Image is doing last-minute covers to things now.
I really do.
Because it alters our orders, and it creates a situation where we get a lot of last-minute people who would have subscribed to, say, a Jamie McKelvey Decorum cover when the book was announced, but now they're ordering it a week before it comes in because that's when it was made available to them. Frankly, we could have probably told them via FOC or something like that, but it's not really worth our time to email everyone on our list going, hey, by the way,
yeah,
there's a third cover.
They already got an email about that book. We don't want to spam them with another one.
Yeah. So having that information available when the book is initially solicited and having that information always be part of the solicit is way more helpful to me as a retailer than just randomly deciding 5 weeks after you've offered a book, by the way, there's a third cover, and then 2 weeks after that, hey, there's a fourth cover now. Like, I'm not even a huge fan of the boom, like, there's an FOC variant, where if you up your numbers at final order cutoff, but that must work for them in some way, so almost not even kicking about it. But the image one in particular is like, you didn't do this before, and you started doing it, and it's kind of a hassle.
Yep.
As far as communicating effectively to our customers.
Just communicating effectively to us?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we do final order cutoff, so when we see it, it's like, oh, I guess I'm going to order a few more of these.
Yeah, or not, out of spite.
I don't think I've gotten to that level yet, but I don't blame retailers who feel that way. Is that your way of saying that River North will never have?
No, I mean, we'll absolutely, we'll probably change the order so McKelvey is even, 50-50 split.
I mean, that's what we did. I mean, that's what I did. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I usually look at...
Wait, did you...
I did those for Bucktown. I don't know if you did them for River North.
Did you mean on new to order?
No? What?
What?
What book are we talking about with you?
Ludocrats.
Ludocrats haven't done anything yet.
Oh, okay. You're talking about Decorum.
Decorum had 2 covers by Mike Huddleston, and then they announced a Jamie McKelvey one, I think around probably final order cutoff, because there's a completely different code on it. So that's already locked in. Those are coming in or they're not coming in. But Ludocrats, yeah, I mean, we haven't even started our orders
at each location that wants McKelvey covers of anything that is available.
Sure.
It's just that there's no way to really keep that in the system. You got to keep it in your head.
Yes. There is not a way to add Jamie McKelvey as a creator to people's accounts.
Yeah. I wonder if there is in Comic Hub.
Maybe.
Comic Hub has started basically publisher project creation, which is basically Facebook promoting, but through Comic Hub. Or it's as equivalent of that.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the...
But I mean, Image has now done 4 projects. Sure. Titan has done 1.
Yeah.
So that was starting now.
That was always a plan of Comic Hub, the ability for retailers to act as kind of a middleman where participating publishers could then push out to subscribers like, hey, here's preview pages for this book. Here's a new cover for something.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I get that I'm sure some retailers who don't use Comic Hub would see that as minimizing their role in working with their customers, that they want that ability to be the one telling their customers, hey, this is what Image has got coming up. I don't want Image talking directly to my customers. But I'd be okay with it.
I would. It would be less work for us to have
if a publisher wants to be the one to promote stuff and they've got all the assets and stuff, go ahead. That's fine.
I would be fine with that as well.
Yeah. I wonder when's a good time to talk to Comic Hub about Comic Hub. Maybe we should do that soon.
Anytime, I guess.
Maybe I'll shoot an email and we can start that process. I don't know.
Something to think about for the next week as well.
For sure.
Speaking of next week we'll be talking about some big news we have.
Yeah, probably.
That you may hear by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah, I always feel weird teasing stuff like that because it's kind of out of our control.
Right.
What we've been told is, this is when it's going to go out. But, if it doesn't, I don't want to be I can't say yet. Got rescheduled. They decided not to announce it.
And maybe it has something to do with that radio announcement that just came through just now.
Oh, wait. Maybe.
But probably not.
Probably not.
It's just that we were going to talk about it now, but we're out of time.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. It's over time.
Right to the buzzer. Oh, no.
We've got only X amount of time on the internet.
The next team's coming in.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. But, hey, we really appreciate you being part of this endeavor we call Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155.
And in the River North neighborhood of Chicago at 750 North Franklin Street, number 103, 312-285-2252.
Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.